Legitimizing other through questioning. We live in a world that rewards fast answers, sharp opinions, quick rebuttals, confident conclusions. Yet if you pause for a moment and look at the quality of our public discourse, our boardroom debates, even our private conversations, you might quietly wonder, are we thinking deeply or simply reacting quickly? Socratic questioning offers us something radically different. Not a debating tactic, not a clever rhetorical device, but a structured way of thinking together, systematic and focused on the foundations of thought itself. That word, structured, matters. This is not random curiosity. It is a disciplined inquiry aimed at clarity, truth, and understanding. And here is what I find most powerful. When practiced well, Socratic questioning is an act of respect. It assumes that the other person's thinking deserves careful exploration rather than casual dismissal. In ontological coaching, we speak about treating others as legitimate others. You may disagree with someone. You may not share their worldview, but you acknowledge that their concerns make sense to them. Their reasoning has structure. Their perspective has history. Socratic questioning gives us the structure to explore that legitimacy without collapsing into agreement or slipping into hostility. Let me ask you something. When someone expresses a strong view that contradicts yours, what happens inside you? Do you lean in to understand, or do you prepare your counter-argument? Most of us, if we are honest, prepare our defense. Socrates would invite us to slow down, not to win, but to examine. The unexamined life is not worth living, he famously said. An examination begins with questions, but not just any questions. Paul and Elder, in The Thinker's Guide to the Art of Socratic Questioning, remind us that every piece of reasoning has identifiable elements: a purpose, a question at issue, assumptions, information, interpretations, implications, and a point of view. Imagine bringing that awareness into a difficult conversation. Instead of reacting to what someone says, you might gently explore their purpose. What are you hoping will happen here? Or their assumptions? What would need to be true for that to work? Or their evidence? What experiences are you drawing on? Notice the difference. You are no longer debating positions. You are examining thinking. And when you do that, something subtle but powerful happens. The conversation shifts from personal threat to shared inquiry. But Socratic questioning is not only outward, it must turn inward as well. Among the intellectual virtues that Paul and Elder highlight is intellectual humility, the willingness to admit that our own thinking may be incomplete. Alongside it, intellectual courage, the readiness to question cherished beliefs, and intellectual empathy, the capacity to genuinely enter another person's perspective. Without these virtues, questioning becomes manipulation. With them, questioning becomes transformation. Let me bring this closer to home. Think of a financial planning conversation. A client insists on a decision that you believe is unwise. You could correct, you could warn, you could override, or you could inquire.
What is most important to you in making this decision? What concerns would feel addressed if we took this route? What assumptions are we both carrying about risk?
Now, you are not merely advising, you are helping them examine their own thinking. And here is the deeper question. Are we willing to examine our own? Paul and Elder also draw an important distinction between types of questions, and this is one I return to often. Some questions are settled by evidence, others are matters of preference, still others require reasoned judgment between competing viewpoints. How often do our conflicts escalate because we mistake one for another? If two people are arguing about taste, there is no correct answer to prove. If they are arguing about data, evidence matters. If they are debating values or policy, then reasoning must engage competing systems of thought. When we fail to clarify the type of question we are dealing with, we talk past each other. When we clarify it, we create the conditions for genuine progress. Treating others as legitimate others means we do not assume they are irrational. It means we are willing to ask what kind of question we are actually dealing with and what prior questions might need answering first. Take a simple example. Is this investment strategy safe? Before answering, we might ask, what does safe mean here? Over what time horizon? Relative to which risks? For whose goals? The quality of our answers is limited by the quality of our prior questions. Socratic questioning is not aggressive. It is patient. It invites people into deeper reflection rather than cornering them. And that invitation requires real listening, not waiting to speak, not mentally rehearsing a response, but what Alan Sealer calls deep, genuine attention, being present with mind, heart, and body. Stephen Covey described a continuum of listening, from ignoring at one end to empathic listening at the other. Most of us spend our time somewhere in the middle, hearing words, but not yet receiving meaning. Socratic questioning pulls us toward the far end of that continuum. Let me ask you again. When someone shares something that triggers you, what do you listen for? Do you listen for what is wrong in their reasoning? Or do you listen for the concern underneath? Socratic questioning at its best helps surface concerns. What are you most worried about if we do this? What would success look like from your perspective? What are we not yet seeing? These are not soft questions. They are disciplined questions. They probe purpose, assumptions, and implications. And they signal respect. But the most difficult move is still the inward turn. In moments of tension, are we willing to ask, what is my purpose and/or concern in this conversation? Am I trying to understand or trying to win? What assumption of mine is operating silently? If someone questioned my position with the same rigor I am applying to theirs, would I feel it fair? This is where Socratic questioning becomes a practice of character. It demands intellectual integrity, holding ourselves to the same standards we expect of others. Intellectual courage, staying in inquiry when it would be easier to retreat into certainty. And intellectual humility, accepting that our view, however well-reasoned, is partial. In a polarized world, this posture feels almost radical. Imagine if, in our teams, instead of defending positions, we examined reasoning together. Imagine if, in our financial conversations, instead of prescribing solutions, we co-examined the beliefs underneath them. What would shift? I suspect trust would deepen. Because when someone feels that their thinking is taken seriously, examined carefully, rather than dismissed casually, they feel respected. And when we question ourselves with the same discipline, we grow. Socratic questioning is not about cleverness. It is about care. Care for clarity, care for truth, care for the dignity of another human being as a thinker. So perhaps the next time you find yourself in a difficult conversation, pause before you answer. Ask yourself, what kind of question are we dealing with? What assumptions are present? What purpose is driving this? And what might I not yet see? Treat the other as legitimate. Treat your own thinking as examinable. And let the conversation become not a battlefield, but a shared inquiry. Because maybe, just maybe, the real art of questioning is not about dismantling arguments. It is about building understanding. One disciplined, respectful question at a time.